If you saw this TikTok, you'd probably think, okay, yeah, normal video, nothing stands out about it. But then you learn the backstory behind it and what's happening in just the other room as this girl is deciding to record this TikTok. And it's evil. There's no other word for it. It's literally vile, pure evil. Nicola Priest was a teenager living in the UK with her mom, sister, and her stepdad. They were living just outside of Birmingham. And she was living a life of a typical girl her age. She was posting on social media, doing her makeup, going out with her friends. She had an active TikTok profile where she would post videos of herself dancing, makeup tutorials, just little clips of her everyday life. But her entire world changed when she found out that she was pregnant at 17 years old. Nicola gave birth to a baby girl in 2017 and she named her Kaylee Jade Priest. The father was not in the picture, so of course the baby lived in the same house as Nicola and her family. And Kaylee was the cutest little girl. Anyone who met her outside of the family would tell you that she was just the sweetest little girl. On social media, specifically on TikTok, Nicola began posting videos of her daughter. The two of them would do dances together, they would play, they would hang out. And if you watched the videos, you would probably think, oh, cute, mother, daughter, so sweet. Wrong. Nicola was the worst mom because she could not have cared any less about her daughter if she tried. Nicola never bathed her, fed her, changed her diapers, didn't play with her. She honestly hardly even talked to her, and when she did spend time with her, it was only because she had to. Luckily for baby Kaylee, Nicola's mom and sister stepped up to take care of her. They did absolutely everything in their power to raise her and care for her and give her everything that a baby needs. So Kaylee was taken care of, but not by Nicola in the slightest. When Nicola had her, she pretty much just completely disregarded her, or she was yelling at her or punishing her, all while making two other things her priorities: social media and boys. Nicola was also not a great daughter. She never listened to her mom. She went out, she would leave Kaylee at home, very much so prioritizing hanging out with random boys and doing things that I guess she considered to be fun. By 2019, Nicola fell pregnant again, and she gave birth to now her second child sometime that year. The father was her boyfriend at the time, a guy called Daniel, and Daniel was a good guy. He was excited to become a dad. He loved being able to be in Kaylee's life. He had good intentions, and he definitely cared significantly more for Kaylee than Nicola ever did. At some point throughout their relationship, Nicola ends up getting in a really bad fight with her mom, and I think her sister as well, because they're just trying to tell her to treat Kaylee like a toddler should be treated, but Nicola just refused to listen. She got super defensive. She moved out. She took Kaylee with her and then told her family members, aka mom and sister, that they would never see her again. She moved in with Daniel into his family's house, and the two of them later on got their own apartment. But getting into that fight with her mom and her sister was terrible because they were two out of the three people who seemed to actually care and love Kaylee. But the third person was Daniel, so there was still a little bit of hope in the air that even though Kaylee sadly would no longer be allowed to see her aunt and her grandma, she still had Daniel and his family. But sadly, that would not last long either. Because being in a relationship with someone like Nicola, who pretty much only cares about herself, wasn't something that Daniel could see for himself long term. As much as he cared for Kaylee, I think he realized that being with Nicola was just too much. I think I said 2019 earlier, but the baby was born in 2020. So after their baby was born in 2020, they broke up, and Daniel did whatever he could to still provide and still be in the baby's life, even when him and Nicola were completely over. He let Nicola and Kaylee stay at the apartment, and he moved back in with his family, but they worked out an agreement in which Daniel would take the baby on the weekends and Nicola would have him on weekdays. But I told you that one of Nicola's biggest priorities was boys, so it didn't take long for her to jump into a new relationship. In 2020, Nicola got into a relationship with Callum Redfern, a 21-year-old guy who she had known for a little bit and one that she was reportedly infatuated with. Callum, not a good guy. He was reckless, he was selfish, had severe anger issues. Also, not on the same page at all as Nicola in regards to their relationship, really. Well, it was very much so a relationship in her eyes. She was very much, my man, you are mine, let's be together forever. I will give you whatever you want. And he was very much, a man has needs, you meet my needs, but that's about the only thing that you do for me. So whatever thing they had to him was very much physical versus in Nicola's eyes was very much emotional. But Callum, also great at not caring, so he pretty much just led Nicola on, let her believe whatever she wanted to believe. So their relationship was weird and the opposite of healthy, but it was different in the way that Nicola now not only cared about herself, she actually cared a lot about Callum. Yet that meant that Kaylee Kaylee, her 3-year-old daughter, got even less attention from her, if that's even possible. Not only did Nicola not care about Kaylee, she often yelled at her, she called her names, she would punish her. I mean, you would think that this 3-year-old little girl was her biggest enemy by the way that she treated her. Add to that, Callum and his selfishness and his anger issues, it was quite the perfect recipe for disaster. Neighbors living below Nicola's apartment at times heard loud noises coming from upstairs, followed by Kaylee crying. On one occasion, a neighbor allegedly heard Kaylee crying, and Nicola say afterwards, quote, "I'll just say that she fell off the bed," end quote. Things in that apartment were bad, much worse than anyone could have ever imagined. Later on, text messages were revealed that showed just how angry Nicola always was at Kaylee, the most innocent little girl who just wanted to be loved and cared for by her own mother. In one exchange, Nicola texted Callum, quote, "I'm gonna because she keeps leaving the living room or going in the kitchen, so I've hit her and smacked her for going to the bathroom in her nappy," end quote. Callum's response to that was, quote, "Good, give her one from me." Nicola replied to that saying, "I will, babe." Just days after those text messages, the horrible events of today's case would occur. The last full day of Kaylee's life began ordinarily enough. On Saturday, August 8th of 2020, CCTV cameras recorded Nicola and Kaylee leaving their apartment. And as per usual, Nicola seems extremely uninterested in her. Kaylee is looking at her the entire time. Nicola does not look at her once, completely ignoring her. She walks in front of Kaylee, keeping her distance with almost no physical or verbal interaction between the two of them the entire time. When they returned back home, Kaylee appeared well, walking, talking, moving normally. Oh, and also the baby this weekend was with Daniel, so it was only Nicola, Callum, and Kaylee now at their apartment. At around 7 p.m. that night, Kaylee was put to bed. Nicola and Callum were in the living room along with a friend that Callum had over, but like many children her age, Kaylee did not want to go to sleep. She wanted to stay up, she wanted to play, so she began to cry, calling out, wanting to be let out of her room. But Nicola and Callum, they wanted to be intimate with each other right then and there. Why not? Your daughter is literally crying out for you, and there's another person, you have a friend over too. But they started kissing or whatever, but Kaylee was still crying, and they got so incredibly angry and irritated, they both stopped what they were doing. They entered Kaylee's bedroom and they punished her physically without holding back for interrupting them. Afterwards, they leave her in her room. They go back to doing whatever they were doing until they were done, and then Callum, along with his friend, leave the apartment completely. So now it's just Kaylee who's locked in her bedroom and her mom, Nicola. Nicola goes back into Kaylee's room. She sees that she is very clearly, obviously not okay because of everything that they did to her, sees that she is throwing up uncontrollably. 3 years old, by the way, and what does she do? She closes the door and she gets on her phone, completely and absolutely ignoring the horrible state that Kaylee was in. What exactly happened in that apartment has never been fully established because both Nicola and Callum ended up blaming each other entirely, but the injuries that Kaylee sustained tell us enough. Kaylee had catastrophic injuries to her chest and abdomen, a torn intestine, fractured ribs, a fractured sternum, and a deflated lung. Expert witnesses described the injuries as producing the type of damage usually seen as the result of a high-speed car crash. Other experts later told the court that it was also comparable to injuries that a child might suffer from falling approximately 30 feet onto concrete. That night, those are the injuries that Kaylee had and felt and was going through, left alone in her bedroom, while her mom, 22-year-old Nicola, was in the living room. She was texting Callum that she loved him, that it was so nice to see him. And then, out of boredom, I guess, Nicola picks up her phone and she starts making TikToks. Yeah, she props up her phone and she starts doing dances. No care in the world. And then she just goes to her bedroom and eventually falls asleep. Kaylee Jade spent the night in that condition, using every last bit of energy that she had to try and survive. She was alone. She was slowly giving up. Her little body couldn't handle it, and no one called for help. It was not until the following day, August 9th of 2020, at around 11 a.m., Nicola Priest called an ambulance for her daughter. She calls and says that she thinks that her daughter fell and hit her head, that she's not breathing, and that she's turning blue. The operator on the phone tells her to do CPR. She says that she's doing CPR and that it's not working. Later we find out she never tried to do CPR, and Kaylee was already gone by the time the ambulance arrived. There were a total of 68 injuries on her body, most of which were caused that night, but some dated back to months earlier. medical staff was able to determine that because of the way that they looked, meaning that this awful treatment of Kaylee had been going on for weeks, months before that final night. Authorities arrested both Nicola Priest and Callum Redfern, and you will not be shocked to hear that anything and everything Nicola told authorities were lies. She was full of fake stories, attempting to make everything seem like it was an accident, but it was obvious to any person that saw her and spoke to her that she was a mother who did not in the slightest care about her daughter. Callum tried claiming that he wasn't even in the apartment, that he didn't stay the night there that night, and that he knew nothing, which is true, but he was fully responsible as well. Both of them fully denying any responsibility, and eventually both of them fully turning on each other. They must have realized, I guess, that authorities were not buying into their lies, so instead they pointed the finger of blame entirely at each other. When asked how Kaylee's passing had affected him, Callum only responded with, quote, "It's not my child, it's not really affected me," end quote. I'm happy to say that when they did eventually go to trial, the jury wasn't believing anything that they were saying. CCTV footage, witness testimony, text message records, and reports from several medical experts played a crucial role in proving the case. The prosecution's argument was pretty straightforward that on the night of August 8th, both defendants were alone with Kaylee when she sustained her fatal injuries. Both had the means, the motive, and the opportunity. Both had documented history of this kind of behavior towards her, and neither called for help. On August 5th of 2021, the jury convicted both Nicola Priest and Callum Redfern on the manslaughter of Kaylee Jade Priest. They were found not guilty of murder because of a lack of evidence, because they were unable to determine exactly who did what and what part they played. They were found not guilty of murder, but instead guilty of manslaughter, which is crazy to me, and I'm sure to many of you as well. Nicola was also found guilty of a separate charge relating to Kaylee's older injuries. She was sentenced to only 15 years in prison for manslaughter and 3 years for the second charge, and Callum was sentenced to only 14 years. When Nicola's mom, Kaylee's grandmother, found out, she was absolutely shattered. As you can imagine, she had been the only one, along with Nicola's sister, that ever tried to raise the alarm on how bad, how awful of a mother Nicola was, and they had been the only ones that had loved Kaylee since the moment she was born. This is a statement from her, quote, "I could never stop staring at that smile on her beautiful face. I loved every moment watching her develop to nearly school age. Kaylee Jade deserved to show the world who she could have been and what greatness she could have brought to this world. Nanny will forever hold you in her heart," end quote. Yeah, I really have no words. Also baffled at the sentence that they got. But that is all for me today. Thank you for spending time with me today and for listening to little Kaylee's story. I hope you guys are having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. That's a kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.